Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of this year's PAM Masterclass training series. I'm Fazil. I'm your host for the day. I'm joined by Melba, our in house product expert, who will be guiding you through this session. This episode, we will see privileged account governance and remote password management. This is applicable for both PAM 360 as well as Password Manager Pro. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping rules. All attendees will be on listen-only mode by default. If you have any questions during the masterclass, please leave them in the Q&A panel. Either we'll get to them during the session or we'll get to them at the end of the session. The recording will be sent to all of you in a couple of days. And if you have any further questions, feedback, or anything at all to say to us, you can send an email to hello-pam360@manageengine.com. Over to you, Melba. You can take over.
Hey Faz, excited to be here and many thanks for the warm and kind introduction. And good morning or good afternoon to everyone from whichever part of the world you're from. I'm pumped to kick off the first masterclass session of the year. And I've got to tell you, this is just a kickstart, and there are plenty more episodes in the pipeline for all of you. So, short introduction, my name is Melba Rajan. I am one of the product specialists for PAM 360 at Manage Engine. And I would like to thank you all very much for choosing to spend your some time with us today in our masterclass. And the topic I'm going to be talking about is privileged account governance. And I'm excited about today's session because it's not only something that I'm very passionate to talk about, but also would like to incorporate some demonstrations for you in the masterclass so that it will be a little intuitive and enjoyable for you. And of course, your feedback is always welcome at the end. And feel to ask any questions that you have in mind throughout the session. So without any further ado, let's dive in. This is a report produced by Verizon that 74 percentage of data breaches due to social engineering and privilege abuse. Uh, how intriguing is that and scary too, right? So, because the first thing is for many organizations, the reality check is that there are many threats out there that are really targeting the organizations like malware, getting in, providing backdoor to cyber criminals, stealing credentials. We have insider threats who knowingly or unknowingly making misconfigurations or taking risks that expose the organization to cyber attacks. For me, one of the biggest threats out there is still ransomware. Oh yes, ransomware attacks are unusual these days. In fact, they are very devastating. They have shut down major gas pipelines, banks, hospitals, government sectors, and all these at this point it'd be hard pressed to find an industry or a sector that hasn't been hit by a ransomware attack. And these victim organization, their business comes to standstill. They lose millions of stock. They cannot operate anymore. They cannot serve their customers or partners. Employees data will be exposed. To avoid getting into these very uneasy situation, you should follow a basic motto, which is all credentials needs protection. And I believe one of the reasons why security risks are increasing is due to the accelerating IT complexity, because we have seen, adoption around different types of, devices, different types of access, cloud data center transformation, employees working remotely, and organizations had to do a lot to manage this overwhelming landscape securely. At the same time, it should not affect the productivity as well. So this is what we're going to talk about in today's session, which is always kind of good going back to the basics. So many people might be in a different stage of privileged access management, and sometimes it's always good to go back and take a look that we have got the right practices in place, have got the right policies in place. So my question is how to enforce proper posture management while keeping everyone productive. So this is where PAM 360 comes into play. And let me just show you the scenarios without PAM solution and with PAM 360. So what's more human about how users store and share passwords? We have seen it all, been there, done that, storing credentials in sticky notes, sharing passwords, encrypted over email, Excel sheets or spreadsheets, which is one thing. And the other thing is, has this ever stuck to you, like how the employees or users in your organizations, create their own passwords? Let me just shed some light on it. Mostly, it would be the name of their pet plus a birth date, favorite person, or why not a favorite vacation spot from the bucket list. Because way too often, at least one of these three elements ended up being a password. But the problem today is many companies do not offer their employees with an enterprise grade password manager, and this will ultimately the users will resort to using one of these three things, which is password vault that is built into their browsers, which totally lack centralized visibility, sharing capabilities, and most importantly all the passwords are stored locally in their endpoints. And the second is consumer based password walls that lacks controls around like security, reporting, corporate ownership, etc. And a third thing is every security professional's worst nightmare is a credential stored in spreadsheets or sticky notes. Okay, and now how do you do it with PAM? So what will be this? What is the solution for it? Let's start from the basics. Okay, so the privileged account governance module will provide of PAM 360 will provide you a sense visibility by discovering all the privileged accounts. So here, privileged accounts involves both human, non-human entities, like it could be a local accounts of Windows member machines, domain accounts, Unix root accounts, service accounts, schedule task accounts, enable accounts and switches, SQL, DB accounts, application accounts, etc. Okay, and hence the first step is to discover these accounts. So PAM should be like an enterprise vault, like centralized vaults where you can discover all the identity, entities from your infrastructure. And not only passwords, users there are passwords are not the only thing that needs to be secured. It could be license keys, read only API keys, tokens, secret keys, etc. So these things can be stored inside PAM 360 vault. So once we gain the visibility of how many privileged user accounts dealing with, it doesn't stop right there. So PAM 360 enables the administrators to share these privileges to the end users by imposing a fine granular access levels. And in fact, we also provide time bound access and also just enough access via various PEDM capabilities of PAM 360, like access control, workflow, just-in-time elevation, that will guide you to eliminate, the standing privileges, that the user exerts, that which will be discussed extensively in the forthcoming episodes of the season. But let's just come back to the PAM 360 privilege account governance module. So the discovery and vaulting is not just stop there. You have to share the credentials securely with the end users with various access levels with bare minimum privileges. And also it should have a transparent auditing, and reporting system so that it can keep track of all the privileged activities that is taking place within the application. Because if you knew that someone is watching you, you will be accountable for that particular activity, right? So a proper enterprise solution should allow you to discover, provide you a visibility, provide you a proper access level to share the credential with the end users, and also you should keep track of all the privileged activities performed by these users. So let me just showcase you what are the various privileged what are the various options, privileged account governance of PAM 360 has to offer. Let's just go one by one. Let's just go with right by onboarding the users from various identity stores and implementing role-based access controls and this onboarding the resources from various directory services and also how to share the passwords at different access levels. So this is the first part of this masterclass. Let me just take you to the product showcase the demo. So this is how the application looks like. So I believe you might already aware of PAM 360. You might be a customer of PAM 360, or you're currently a prospect evaluating it, or might be a partner. I would like you to pay attention to it. So this demo, I'm gonna show you or demonstrate, the basics. So it will be like starting from the scratch. So it will give you a lot more insights to you. So please pay attention. So I'm going to log into the application. So the application comes with the default accounts, application accounts, administrator and guest. I'm just going to log in now. So here you can see a password dashboard. So you will get to have a colorful dashboard as soon as you start discovering and onboarding the users into PAM. So it just gives you a live feed to the administrator, like how many passwords are there, the expired passwords, the passwords that are not in sync, and passwords that are conflicting the password policies, live audit alerts, and number of the password activity. Everything will be displayed in the dashboard. And I'm going to take you to the users onboarding first, because this is where it starts. So this is where, like, if you want a user to store log into the application and to store his credentials and manage his passwords, you have to create an account for him. So this is just for login purpose, this entire module. uh, let's see how you can add the users. So there are various modes in adding the user. You can add it manually, you can import it from a file, and you can import it from various directory services like Active Directory, Microsoft Launcher ID, and LDAP. So let me just show you how you can add it. So first you have to enter the first name, and you can enter the last name and username. This is the login name. This is using this, the user has to log into the application. And here, since you're the administrator who will be creating the account, you can use one of these three options. Either you can generate a password and you can forward it to him, or you can use username and password. Because anyways, once the user logs in for the first time, the application will enforce the user to reset his password. Or you can specify the password manually and you can share it with him. And the next important thing is access level. So these are the roles that comes inbuilt with the application. I'm going to get back to it so that I can correlate with whatever the roles that we have and how we can correlate with the role based access control. And you just create the user. So that's it. So this is very straightforward and simple. And also you can onboard it from a file. So if you have a CSV file with all these user details, you can map them with the columns, CSV columns with PAM 360 application columns, and you can onboard them. And the next is onboarding the users from Active Directory. So here you have to specify the domain name and a primary domain controller. And also it is recommended to add a secondary DC in case if primary DC is down. The request will be routed to the secondary DC. And here you can see connection mode, non-SSL and SSL. So we always recommend you to go with SSL, of course, because that way it will be more secure. And in order to do that, you have to onboard the root certificate of your DC into PAM 360 Trust Store. There are step-by-step instructions in our health documentations to help you achieve that as well. And here you have to supply credentials. So this is the account, privileged account, using which PAM will log into your DC and fetch the user groups, and also the OUs. So since I have already added an administrator account, I'm just using this particular option. But if you want to specify it manually, you can. For the first time, if you want to specify, you have to specify it manually for the first time. So you enter the username and password. All right, and here I'm going to click on fetch groups and OUs. So in the next page, it's going to enumerate the OUs and the groups part of this domain. And here you would have noticed about the sync interval. Yes, we do have this option where PAM will help you automatically onboard the users based on OU and AD group. You can create the sync task. So whenever you onboard any, import any new users to the particular OU or an AD group, he or she will be automatically imported into custom PAM 360 during the next sync cycle. So I'm just going to click on fetch groups and OUs. It will should pull up all the details here. There you go. So these are the groups, and we you can also enumerate. You can also see the tree structure of the OU here, and for example, I'm just gonna see uses. So here you have noticed the options that we have provided here. So when you onboard a user into the application, it does not gonna give you with highest privilege role. So it's going to be a bare minimum least privilege, which is password user. By default, it will be selected. But however, if you're onboarding any specific any security groups or any administrator groups, at that instance, you can just choose which role that you want to choose here, and you can onboard them. And you I just have to click on import, and we also have language options. So these are the languages, UI languages here. So some users might be, you might have data centers in multiple geographic locations, and you have employees from different part of the world, and if they do not want to use their own native language in the UI, you can also choose whichever language that you want, and you can just import them. So when they log in, it will be displayed in the specified language template that you have chosen, and imports. So that's it. So once it is done, the users will be onboarded. Here you can see a few users are added here. And I have also added few users previously for testing. And not only that, so not only that, the users will be onboarded. The groups that you selected will also get discovered into PAM 360. So the AD group that you have onboarded from Active Directory will also be created as a group here. This is just for easier administration. We have provided this option. And now I'm just gonna get back to the roles. So here you can see these are the various inbuilt roles that comes within PAM 360. So we have three administrator roles and three regular user roles. All the three administrator roles will be accounted for licensing, and you can have unlimited number of regular user roles. And even the administrators have different set of privileges. If you just go through the documentations, you will get an idea. Privileged administrator holds the highest position within the application because he have access to a few security controls as well, like whitelisting IPs and few other security controls where other administrators do not have access to. And these are the predefined roles, but you don't have to worry about it because each and every company's policies and organizations standards vary, right? So that for the reason we have given custom role operation as well. If you want to know the exact privileges that each and every role carries, you can just go to the role section and you can just click on a particular user. Here you can see what are the privileges he has. He has over, he has control over too. So administrator has access to all these privileges, and if you go to privilege administrator, his roles will vary. So this way you can check the roles and privileges on each and every role that PAM 360 has. And apart from that, you can also create your own custom roles. So for instance, I'll just give you an example. For instance, let's say it's a password user. So with the password user doesn't have the capability to onboard their own resources and onboard, they do not have any administrator level privileges like onboarding the resources and sharing the resources to the other users. All these controls are not available for regular password users. But however, if you want to create a role that has a password user privilege, Apart from that, if you want the user to add his own account or own password, or you can edit, delete, or copy his own accounts and passwords, then you can just create a custom role, and you can assign it to the particular user. So here, it also goes through a approval workflow. So another administrator has to approve the role that you create, and once approval is done, you can associate the role to the end user. So this is about user. So now we have onboarded the users from Active Directory, and we have learned about the role modules here. And the next is, let's see how you can onboard the user from LDAP. So LDAP is pretty straightforward, same as how you have to specify all the domain and the credentials. So you have to specify the provider URL, the port. If you're going to use the SSL port, you can very well use it. It needs to meet the same criteria that the SQL root certificate of the DC should be onboarded into PAM 360 so that it can make SSL handshake. So this is where you have to type in the provider URL for primary, for secondary, and connection mode SSL or non-SSL. You can provide it here, and here the username and the password, it should be in the distinguished name format, and here you can choose the server type. So these are the currently allowed LDAP server type with PAM 360. And here you can provide the attributes, and you can also provide filters to fetch. And once when you add it for the first time, you just have to save it. Save this. Once it is saved, you can use the same criteria to import the groups. For example, if I want to import the users from PAM 360 domain, I will just choose it and go here, and I'll click on groups, and I'll onboard the groups. And but if I want to onboard the users from PMP 2019 server, I'm just gonna choose this, and I'll go to the import. So this way you don't have to create the connection details every time. So there will be a predefined set of controls already there, and you will just use it. You'll just leverage it to onboard the required OUs and groups from from LDAP. So here you can just provide it in this particular format, the group name, or you can just do a view search, view all groups, and just type the group name. I have created a test group called LDAP Masterclass. I'm just going to click on save. So the user import from LDAP in progress. Let's just give it a few seconds. Yeah, there you go. So these are the two users part of this LDAP group, and they have onboarded into PAM now. And the users will always be listed here under the users section, and user groups will be listed here under the user group section here. So user groups, we have given this option to make the life of an admin easier. So when he does a bulk operation, you don't have to, collectively select users and, configure them. Instead, he can just put them in a group, and he can do it. Best example is when he shares a set of servers to a particular user group. So this is how the onboarding process work. And next is, I would also like to show you how you can onboard it from Microsoft Entra ID. I don't have access to the cloud now, but I'll just tell you the parameters that needs to be filled. Of course, you need to provide the PAM 360 domain name. Um, you have to provide the tenant ID, client ID, and the client secret. And you have to click on fetch groups. As soon as you do that, it's going to bring up the same enumeration window where you can choose the particular AD, Azure group that you would like to import into PAM 360. And it doesn't stop right there. So next part is very important, which is authentication. You don't have to create a dedicated credential for the logging into PAM 360 application, because the users can use their own AD or LDAP or Microsoft Entra credentials to log into the application. I'll just show you how you can configure this. It's pretty simple. If you go to Active Directory, there is an option called Enable Now. Once you do that, you will be able to see the list of all domains that you have onboarded, and along with local authentication. So when the user logs in, he can choose which domain the account is from, and he can use his AD credentials to log into the application. So here you would have noticed we did not store fetch or store any credential here. We just fetch the user accounts, because the authentication here is on demand. We on demand authenticate the user against Active Directory or LDAP or Azure. Let me just show you how this works. So I enable AD authentication now. Here you can see here. So it will display all the domains that you have onboarded. So you might have multiple child domains, or you have an environment that deals with cross-domain functionality. Then you can onboard multiple domains here, and you can just choose which domain you want to log into, and you can log into the application. If you want to log in using the inbuilt user accounts that comes with the application, you can choose local authentication and log in. So this is not only available for AD, you can also enable it for Azure AD, LDAP, and also we support SAML single sign-on. So PAM 360 supports SAML 2.0 protocol. You can any IDPs that supports SAML 2.0, should be able to integrate it with PAM, and then can do a single sign-on. Apart from that, these are the primary mode of authentication. We also have smart card and PKI based authentication, and also Radius. Apart from this, very mandatory is to have enforce the users to have a two-factor authentication. PAM 360 has various inbuilt integrations, two-factor mechanisms here. So you can use one factor, Google Duo, and recently we also have integrated with Zoho OneNote. So it's more like a QR code scanning. So each time the user doesn't have to input a OTP or any tokens, they can just scan it and they can just log into the application. So this is how the smart login looks like. If you have integrated with Zoho OneNote, you can make use of this function. So the first part is user onboarding. Once you onboard the users, um, you provide a role, configure a role for the particular user. And the next thing is you configure a scheduled task, so that whenever a new user is onboarded into PAM 360 in AD, they will be automatically pulled into PAM 360. So no manual work is needed. That's what I was trying to tell you. No manual work is needed, because the sync task will automatically fetch the users. It will be running in a recurring interval. And the next is you are going to enable authentication mechanism, and also you're going to enable a two-factor authentication in order for the users to log in. So this is all about user onboarding. Next, we can go to the resource onboarding, which is pretty much the same mechanism. So PAM 360 can help you discover Windows, Linux, network devices like switches, firewalls, routers, database accounts, EXSI host. All these can be discovered into PAM 360, and also you can automate this process. You can also schedule and enable sync schedules, so that it will be in sync each time whenever you add a um, Linux machine in the network. If it is within that specific IP address range, it's gonna fetch the particular device into PAM 360 along with all the local user accounts associated to it. So first, let's just take a look at how Windows Discovery works. So you go to the Discovery menu, and here you have to specify the domain, and the domain controller details, and choose the account using which you want to fetch the resources. And also we can choose the posted policies, which I will come back later to explain about posted policy when we discuss more about the privileged account management slide. So I'll get back to you later. So and now the same, you have synchronization interval as well, and in addition to it, we have also option to disable ignore disable resources. So if you have decommissioned or disabled any servers in AD, if you do not want them to be managed by PAM 360, you can just simply check this box, and you can just click on fetch groups and OUs. Let's just give it a second. It's the same DC, so it should be there in a minute. Yes. So here the same, the computers servers will be displayed separately. Groups will be in a different menu, and all the OUs will be displayed here. You can just expand the menu, or if you want to onboard the entire DC, you can just choose it. So here you can just choose any group that you want. So I believe we have a domain computers groups. So I'll just choose this and I'll click on import. So when I import that, all the service part of this domain groups will be onboarded into PAM 360. Uh, all right. So so this is how you can discover the Windows servers into PAM. Just going to click on import and see. So I believe there are a lot of computers in this in that particular groups. It might take some time. So let's just not wait. Like how we created a user group into PAM, likewise, it will also create a resource groups and it will be listed under this group section here. So whatever the computers, here you can see, right? So whatever the computers, this is a group that I just onboarded. I believe it's just slowly onboarding all the resources. It will also be created as a resource group. So it's nothing but when you perform bulk operation, it will be very useful to you. Let's say if you are a Windows admin and you would like to share a collection of Windows servers to a user group, then you can just choose the resource group and you can share it with the user group. So this is one of the reasons why we have this resource group structure that you can make use of. And right now, so this is how you can discover the resources and how you can discover the resource groups into PAM. And next is in the discovery module is Linux. So here in the Linux, you can also do bulk discovery. If you want to discover one particular server, just specify the host name. Just gonna use our test server. And if you can choose between the connection mode. If you want to use SSH protocol, just switch to SSH, or telnet, you can just switch to telnet here. And this is the main part. So if you have the in the previous Windows Discovery, we provided a domain account in order to log into the DC to pull all the OUs and user groups, right? So likewise here in Linux, you need to create a profile, a discovery profile. So it has the below parameters that needs to be filled in. The first is SSH port, because we use SSH protocol to connect to the remote endpoint, and we discover the endpoint along with all the local user accounts associated to it. You have to provide a proper prompt, and also you have to provide a proper um, username and password here. So here I'm going to specify a root account, and also I'm gonna use this root account to connect to this PMP Send 7 server to discover it, and also to discover all the local accounts part of it. So I have already created the discovery profile. Let me just show you how the discovery works. So you can create multiple profiles that you want, because when you use this particular option, IP address range, you have to specify the IP address range here. So any servers between these IP address range will be fetched. So likewise, you can create multiple, profiles, and you can just choose them to discover the set of the Linux servers from your infrastructure. So I'm just gonna use the hostname or IP mode, and I'm gonna choose this profile and click on discover. So here you can see, as soon as click on discovery, there is an option to notify the admins, because it's very important, right? So you want to know who is onboarding the resources into a centralized enterprise vault. So there might be multiple admins in your organization. Those are admins, you can onboard them into PAM, and you can, they can start configuring the applications. Like a Windows admin will start onboarding Windows machines, Linux. So if you want to get communicated with what is happening and who are all onboarding the resources, then you can just do a check of all administrators within the application. So all the admins will be notified whenever you onboard any server, any resource into PAM. Or you can also specify a particular email address. You can switch between the options, and you can just proceed. So let's just wait for this discovery task to complete. So it's completed now. It says one success, and I'll click on it. It will just show me the resource it just pulled in. And you, in case if you're discovering a multiple number of servers for between IP address IP range, you can choose whichever server that you want to manage to be managed by PAM. So you can just choose a particular server and click on add. So once it is done, the server will be listed here, and along with all the local user accounts, it will be fetched. So this is Linux discovery. So likewise, we also have network discovery, where the same you can specify host name or IP address range, or you can also onboard the IP from IP. You can fill in all the IP addresses in a CSV file, and you can upload the file, and you can pull up the machines via discovery. And here, likewise, you have to create profile for network devices. We use SNMP port and SNMP protocol. So here there are various versions. You can just choose whichever version that you're using in the remote endpoint, and based on that you have to supply the parameters here. So version v3 requires username, it requires auth protocol, it has auth password. So you have to fill everything and you have to create it as a profile here, and then when you do the discovery, just choose a profile and discover. So for VMware, the same, yeah, again you have to create a profile, you have to specify the username, the administrator account, and you have to discover the VMware devices. And also we have options to discover the resources from Amazon, AWS, EC2 instances from AWS workspace. This requires access key and secret key for authentication. So once you supply all these credentials, you can also onboard the VMs from the specific regions. So this is about resource onboarding. It doesn't stop right there. Doesn't mean that we can only discover these resource types. You can also discover, uh, you know, um, uh, database SQL accounts and other resource types that we provide here, because we nearly have 87 inbuilt resource types. So you can also onboard them, and you can manage their passwords from PAM 360. So this is all about enterprise passwords vaulting, and the next we move on to sharing, because sharing is very important. You can't just use a tool just as a vault. The next step is how we are going to allocate the resources to the endpoints. The first, you need to start with a bare minimum level. That's why PAM has given you three different levels of access. One is view, permission, modify, and full access. Let me just show you, and also the resources can be shared from three different sections. One is if you want to share a collection of resources to the user or user group, then don't hesitate and go with the resource group option. From here, you can just click on share with users, and whichever user that you want to grant access to, then you can share it. And when you do the sharing, you have three levels. One is view passwords, modify passwords, and full access. View passwords is nothing but the end users can only see the resource, and he cannot make any changes, like he cannot reshare the resource, or he cannot change the password, or he cannot edit any parameters of the particular resource. Modify option will allow the end user to change the password. Full access is similarly like a co-ownership with a particular resource. He can reset it, he can reshare it. So when you share it, you have to be very careful when you share a credential to the end user. So these are the three levels. And if you want to share it with a collection of resources, then you can go with the resource group. And we also have option to create the resource groups manually. Where apart from the AD groups, you can also, create your own group, and you can pick out the resources that you want to put into the group, and you can share it. And also we have dynamic group. This will make your life easier. For example, if you want to collect all the resources like Windows machines, you can just go with resource type contains Windows, and if you do a search, it's going to pull up all the Windows servers and it's going to be added, will be added to the particular resource. So this way you can define the criteria. So one of the common use cases will be like if the user wants to rotate the password, um, or add all the root accounts part of multiple Linux machines, and they want to share it with the end users. So in that case, you can't just go inside each and every Linux root account and you can share it, right? So in that case, you can just create a resource group and you can share it with the end users. You can share it with users and also user groups. So yeah, so that's all about discovery and sharing. And yes, apart from the resource group sharing, we also have options to share a particular resource. So if you do not want to share all the resources, and but you want to share a single resource, just go here and go with share with users or user groups, and you can just choose whichever user that you want to give access to and along with the levels of access. And also if you want to share, like I do not want to share all the credentials because this is just a regular user. Maybe he might be a project trainee or a third party vendor, so I don't want him to see all the accounts part of the resource. So that is a valid point, right? So in such situation, you just go here, choose whichever account that you want to share with the end user, and you can go here and you can share. So when I say share, we have options to share it by masking the password. So he won't be able to see the password, the end user. I'll just show you at the end, if time permits, how this actually works, like a workflow. Now let's just move on to the next part. Uh, so the privileged account governance module covers user onboarding, resource onboarding, and sharing. And next we can, talk about the privileged password reset module. So now we have discovered the privileged user accounts and delegated the access based on roles. And the next step is to adopt proper password policies, right? Let me just go here. Yeah. And to not only to so that you have to adopt proper password policies to achieve compliance and to manage the privileged credentials remotely. So in many organizations, security teams encourages employees to have a strong, complex, and unique passwords, right? But often employees end up with password that are simple, reused, or easily guessable passwords like birth dates, pet names, and providing the bad guys with an easy way to crack the passwords. So hence you need a proper password reset routine to manage the password hygiene so that you can eliminate security breaches, reusage of passwords, abuse, password abuse, or over provisioning or privilege creep. So privilege creep is nothing but let me just explain it with a simple role. So let's take an employee role. Okay, so employee role is like a fluid. It keeps changing. He might have joined the company like a regular project trainee, and then he might move to the next stage, and then so he might be promoted to other departments as well. So what happens is when you each and every role comes with set of duties and privileges. So if the admin is not careful enough to revert or revoke the privilege, uh, he will still have the existing privileges, right? So if he is moving to a different role, he might have both the privileges of this previous role and the new role. So this will lead to this is what we call privilege creep, and these unnecessary standing privileges always creates attack vectors, opening back doors to attackers. So hence you need a proper password routine that will help you to create very complex phosphate policies and help you to also comply with industry standards and regulations like GDPR, PCI DSS, ISO, HIPAA. So this is what the privileged password remote password reset management module comprises of. Here we're going to talk about password resets. We're going to talk about how you're going to manage the Windows service accounts and how the post password reset actions going to take place. I'm going to take you back to the application so that you can see everything in live. And if you guys have questions in mind, just free feel to drop it down in the QA panel so that when we have time at the end, we can discuss more about it. So first is creating password policies. So here PAM 360 comes with inbuilt password policy, but apart from that, you can also create your own custom password policy. So we have various parameters that you can add to the password policy. What I would recommend is if you want to manage the passwords of Windows machines, just make sure that you create a password policy that matches with your AD password policy, so that with the help of PAM, when you do a reset, there won't be any it is discrepancies, because sometimes the password policy that you have in PAM, it will generate the password. We have our own password generator that randomizes the password. So if the password policy mismatches, of course it's going to get failed. So first step, if you are want to build the tool from the scratch, the first step is, after onboarding the users and resources, you need to create the password policies for your Windows machines, Linux servers, and you can associate them to the endpoints. Associating is pretty simple. You can do them in bulk. If you just go to the resources section, you can just choose a resource, go to resource menu, manage, edit, and from here you can choose, let's say if it's Windows, then you can associate what policy you want, and you can associate it. So next time when you do a password reset, the password generator is going to generate a sequence that comply with the password policy. So it will also meet your industry standards, and the passwords also will be in sync, right? Um, and next is I'm gonna show you a quick example of how password reset works in Windows and service accounts, and then Linux. So in Windows member machines, you can manage passwords agent and agentless, because PAM 360 is capable of doing both. If you have a machine that has a proper ports and protocol allowed for the remote password reset operation to take place, and if it has direct connectivity between PAM server and the endpoint, then free feel to go with the agentless mode for managing your endpoints. However, if you have machines that resides in DMZ, or if if it has a firewall in between, then in that instance, I would recommend you to go with the agent mode, because agents are one way, right? So one way, and you can once you deploy the agents, agent will automatically discover the agent resource into PAM, and also it will allow you to manage the passwords via agent mode. So with agentless mode, if you want to manage Windows machines or Windows workgroup servers, you have to there are two methods. One is um, you can use the account using which you're running PAM 360 service to manage the passwords of all Windows machines. The prerequisite is the PAM 360 service account should be a local administrator in all the Windows member machines. So that is first point. But if you're dealing with workgroup servers, of course, you can't use a domain account. Make a domain service account as a local admin. So in that case, you can just go with the configure remote password reset method. So configure remote password reset, just select the Windows machine, configure remote password reset, and here you just choose an account. So PAM will log into this particular machine using the selected administrator account, and it will allow and it will reset the password of other local accounts. Password will be remotely reset, and the passwords will be in sync. The passwords that we have in PAM DB will be in sync with the remote endpoint. And however, if you do not want to configure password reset, and if you want to go with configuring the password using the PAM service account, then you can very well go with the option. So just it's very pretty straightforward. Just select the account that you want to change password. Select generate the password here. Provide a reason. Make sure to check this option to remotely apply, and then save. That's it. So once the password is changed, you can just choose to verify it, and the password will be synced. And this is how you perform the password resets for Windows machines. And the same operation applies for workgroup servers as well. When it comes to Linux, it's also pretty straightforward. You can just go here, go to configure remote password reset. Here you have to specify a remote login account. Um, I'm selecting root here. I'm specifying the proper prompt, and I'm also choosing the SSL protocol to make the connectivity. And my root account has the privilege to reset the password of other user accounts, I have selected use sudo. But in some organization, root account will not have remote login privilege. So in that case, you can just choose any account as a remote login account, and you can just use sus root, and you can use a root account to perform the password reset. So the login will be taken place by this remote login account, and password reset will be done by the root account. So I'm just going to cancel it. So this is also the same. Just select the account that you want to do a reset, change password, select the account, generate the password and save. So you can do the password change on demand, and also you can uh, you can create them in various schedules, because that is one of the vantage point, right? So you don't have to do it every time manually, but you can just go to the group level and you can do a periodic password reset. Just create a schedule here. The first is comes with post notifications, like you will be notified 2 days prior to the password reset operation. And here you can choose, let's say if you want to update the same password to all the root accounts part of multiple machines, then you can just input the same password, generate the same password, and you can click on next. So this is going to update the same password here in all the root accounts that is available in all the Linux machines. Or you can choose to generate a unique password that's based on your requirement, and you can just choose, like if you want to do it monthly or once in every 7 days or 10 days or 30 days based on your compliance. You can just choose it here. And also we have a reset attempt schedule, because sometimes you configure password reset for a user and he might have gone home, right? Person might fail. So in that sense, you might want to retry the schedule, but you don't want to do it manually. So in that case, you can also enable retry attempts and retry intervals. Like if you want to retry, like 5 times every 5 hours, so it's going to happen again and again. But don't worry, it's not going to reset again. For the successful accounts, it's just going to reset the password that is failed. And the next is we also send you reports. We also notify you once the password reset is done, the number of resources that went through password reset, and number of resources that failed. Along with the reason, you'll be getting a complete report in PDF and also in Excel sheet. And next, the major thing is managing service accounts. So PAM 360 is capable of discovering not only the local accounts of member machines, it also scans if there are any service accounts that is used to run services in those machines, and also fetch those accounts. So these are the service accounts that's been discovered when I onboarded the computers resource group. Along with all the member machines and the local accounts, it also discovered all these service accounts. I can show you, if I just choose this account Santosh and click on this TV icon, you can see the PAM 2K22 server name and the service it is running. So this is Manage Engine's log 360 service, and this is a server hosting the service, and Santosh account is used to run it. So this is like a complete visibility, right? So you also know how many service accounts are used in your organization and what are the services it is running. And now it will be an easy task, easy peasy, to rotate the password. And not only that, you can also discover the schedule task accounts. And also, if this account is used to run any schedule task, and also IAS app pools, that also can be fetched. It will be reported here. You know what the best point is here? When you change the password for a service account or a schedule task account, it's going to update the password in the respective services and also the schedule task. So that is also very much possible with this. So it just makes everything easier and just simplified to the ground level. So you can just choose here, like if you want to reset the schedule task and Apple web config, you can just select here. So it will just, once the Santosh account password reset is done, password will be changed in Active Directory, but also it will log into the PMP2K22 server and update the password for the log 360 service in the services console, and also the schedule task it is running, the password will be updated. And you can also choose to restart. Sometimes the administrators will be terrified if they want to reset a service account. They do not know how many services it is running and what are the applications going to get crashed. Here you don't have to worry about it. PAM can help you to restart the applications in all the endpoints. And also, if you do not want to do the restart but you want to do it manually by yourself, then you can also choose to do that. There won't be any problem with it. So this is the service account management. So the complete entities in your organizations will be managed. So far we have discussed about Windows, Workgroup, Linux, and service account discovery. The one thing that is left behind is the network devices password reset. So we use password reset for any SSH based service. Okay, and we also have various inbuilt password reset commands associated along with the resource type. So if you have a Aruba switch, then we also have an inbuilt password command sequence. So when you do a reset, these commands going to get executed and it will reset the password. But apart from that, if you have any resource, because we are well aware network devices command sets vary based on firmware version or the model they've been using. So in that case, you don't have to worry about it. Just add your own command set, just whatever the commands that you have in the remote endpoint, just create it as a sequence and you associate it to a particular resource type. Let me just quickly show you how it is done. So if you go to a resource type and you can just add it, let's say I'm gonna um, reset the password for AAX server. Anything is fine. So and I'm gonna go to advanced SSH command set, and I'm just going to choose whatever command set that I want and I can associate it to the particular resource type. So any AX server I onboard into PAM, it's going to use the commands that I have created. And whenever you want to configure a password reset, it will execute the commands one by one in the remote endpoint and password will be reset. It will be updated in the remote machine and also in the PAM application. All right. So we have got you covered. That is what I was trying to establish here. And not only that, we also have, here, um, the PAM 360, is capable of providing out of the box support to automate remote password reset for a wide range of resource types like Windows, domain accounts, root accounts, and everything. In addition to this, we also have password reset plugin feature that will enable you to add your own implementation class and enforce password reset on resources that are not supported by PAM 360 out of the box. So let's say like legacy resources or in-house applications, if you do not have any means to connect to the resource and do a reset, then you can achieve that with the help of a particular scripts, and you can write your own implementation class and you can just configure that within the application. And based on that, so likewise you can associate it to the particular resource and then you can do password reset. Apart from this, we also the solution can create a sequence or automate events post password rotation. So it will allow you to carry out certain tasks by invoking scripts and executables. So one such is a password reset listener. So multiple follow-up actions can be done using password reset listeners. For example, I'm just taking an example of a few password reset listener. Let me just think. A few things comes into my mind. So one is it will help you to restart the dependent services immediately after you reset the service account passwords. I'm talking about the resources that are not, do not have any direct means of communication with PAM server. With the help of APIs, you can achieve it. And also you can reset the passwords of scheduled tasks and its associated processes or carry out password resets for legacy devices. So and also you can create a file. Let's say this is a very simple use case. Let's say when you reset the password for a Windows machine, as soon as the password reset is done, you want a file to be written in the C drive or D drive of the particular server, along with all the information like time when the password reset is done, the resource name, the account, old password, new password. All these things can be done once the password reset is completed in PAM. So it's like a post operation performed once the task is completed in PAM 360. I have a script which I have written. This is pretty much simple. So just giving you a gist of how it works. So this might not satisfy use case, but you can leverage this to satisfy the use cases that you have in your organization. So this is what I have written. So this is like a log file that will be created in the remote machine. When a password reset is done. So it's going to be like resource name, DNS name, account name, old password, new password, and the reason for the password reset. I can show you how it is done. So this is the listener configuration. I have already added it. You have to provide the path where the password reset script is. You have to browse and upload the password reset script file. And since it is a sensitive operation, it needs a approval. So it has to be approved by another administrator before it performs a privileged task. And I have selected Windows. So when I do that, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna do a password reset, or let's take this particular machine. Um, Launch a connection. Yeah. So when I do a password reset on this account, let's say change password, save. Once this is done, it's gonna invoke the script. Okay, I'll just show you. Um, ladies and gentlemen, this is how the transparent auditing system looks like. So here you can see, right, whatever the operation I do, it's all recorded here. Any operation, even if I click on a resource, everything will be recorded here for auditing purposes. So the listener script will be invoked. And as soon as the listener script is invoked, it will create a file in the particular drive. And when you open it, it's going to give you the details. The resource name, the account that I have triggered the password reset for, old password and new password. So this might not be a feasible use case for you, but what I'm trying to tell is this is just a sample script to tell you how it works. How you can make use of the password reset listener to invoke follow-up operations after you've done a reset activity from PAM 360. So this is all about uh, the module masterclass today, and uh, this with the user onboarding and resource onboarding, you can achieve a lot of use cases. One is, for example, if you are a vendor that need access, that if you are a organization deals with vendors and third-party users, and if you want him to gain access to a remote endpoint, all you have to do is you create his user account in AD. You can onboard it into PAM either on demand, or you can also onboard him via a synchronization schedule. And you share the resource with bare minimum level, and you can share it with masking the password. So once he logs into the application, he has to use his AD credentials to log in. Plus, he has to go through a two-factor authentication mechanism. And as soon as it's done, he'll be able to see the resource that's been shared with him, and the passwords will be in masked encrypted format. So I already created a user here. Maybe I can show how it works. So this is the, let's say this is the masterclass user account. So this is, let's just assume this is a vendor account, okay? And he has to log in using his AD credentials, and this is the domain. Login, let's just wait. Or yeah, there you go. So this is one of the Linux servers that I shared with him, and he has access to this server. And but you can see, right, the only the accounts will be listed here, but the passwords will be in encrypted format. But he can launch SSH session to the remote endpoint from here. So it doesn't stop right here, right? So this is a privilege account governance module. So, and the next is privilege access module, where you will enforce access control mechanism over it, where you will have access for a time limited, like it's more like a time bound access. And once the time bound access ends, the passwords will be automatically rotated. So there will be no standing privilege. And then So this is how the PAM maturity model grows, right? So first it comes with user sharing, and then providing him with time limited access for a particular period of time, and then immediately kill the session and reset the password, rotate the password. This way, you can eliminate standing privileges. And these PEDM, advanced PEDM capabilities will be discussed in the forthcoming episodes of the session. And I believe I have already took a lot of time completing this. Uh, but I guess it's all about the today's masterclass. And let me just do a quick recap. So you can discover all the privileged accounts in your organization, and you can define particular user roles, and you can share it with the end users or third party users. You can create your own password policies that matches with your industry standards, and you can associate it to the endpoints. You can perform the password reset on demand, and also you can enable scheduled password reset so that the reset schedule will be based on recurring intervals. And also we have seen how the post password reset actions takes place. And hey, PAM 360 is a security solution, so we also have a strong, uh, you know, um, uh, we will record and audit all the privileged operations performed within the application. So I guess the session was quite insightful to you, and I believe it would have definitely answered the questions you have, and also able to implement the effective PAM strategies in your organizations to tackle various challenges. So this is back to basics episode, and more advanced features and use cases based episodes will be masterclass will be given in the future. And yes, we are at the end, and I'm happy to open up for questions. We have few minutes left, so I think we can tackle a few questions that's been submitted. Fast, do we have any questions? If you guys have any questions, you can just free feel to drop them in the QA panel. I'll be more glad to answer them. Gonna wait for like 30 more seconds. Okay, so I think that is all for today. If you guys have any questions for us, you can just uh, you can just oh, there is one question from this kind gentleman. Do we have access to the recording? Yes, of course. But the housekeeping announcements, you'll be sent the recording of the webinar masterclass to you in a couple of days, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you guys have any questions, you can drop an email to pam360-support at manageengine.com. All right, then. I really appreciate you guys bearing with me, and I know I exceeded the time, but I hope the session was quite useful to you. And we will see you in the next masterclass session, and we will soon update you when it's going to happen. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.